Could you talk a little bit, just to frame it? Could you talk a little bit about like some NDEs that you see that are very well documented? So just give a couple, one or two examples of well documented NDEs that we've seen and that you could find, someone could look up and find if they wanted to in the literature.
Yeah, the kind of NDEs that I'm most interested in, almost exclusively interested in, are kinds where, while the person claims to be out of their body, sometimes with measurement. For example, in surgery, you can tell if the person flatlines, or if you have a cardiac arrest of a certain species. There's more than one species. If you have a cardiac arrest of a certain species, your heart stops. That's what cardiac arrest means. Your heart stops. Well, they know now that 15 to 30 seconds later, the measurable brain activity stops. So after 30 seconds, you would have no measurable heart for the most part. I mean, we're talking generalities and probabilities here, but you would have no measurable heart and no measurable brain. And in that state, they often report things like what their wife or husband is doing 3 rooms away in a house, or where their family is seated in another floor of the hospital during the surgery. And they report conversations that went on in the room. There are things that are more particular than that too, where people report numbers that they see around the room or something that are later verified. But they know it came after the process, because where the numbers are located, and also because if they have the machines hooked up, they can tell that they quote unquote flatlined.
Mm. So do you have like, for a skeptic who's listening to this and may have like maybe like skeptical that these things happen, do you have like an example in scientific literature that you could point at and be like, here's an example of something that even skeptical people would accept as sort of in the near-death experience?
Sure. First of all, just to show you something, I just happen to have this book sitting on my desk. This is one of the latest books. It's called The Science of Near-Death Experiences. Now, notice the word science is there. So a lot of skeptics are going to say, this is not science, it's mythology. Well, okay. This book is published by University of Missouri Press, so it's published by a secular university press, and every one of these articles appeared in a medical journal. So all of these have been published in a medical journal, and they start out by estimating that in North America alone, up to 21 million people claim to have had near-death experiences in North America alone. So when people say, oh, there's no such world, or you want me to believe in Narnia or Middle Earth or the Oz, and nobody's ever been there except in the movies, that you can say, well, according to this survey, up to 21 million Americans have claimed to have been there. So you're just one of the unlucky ones that didn't get a look, you know. But if you're talking about actual cases, there's a book called The Self Does Not Die, and in the book there's over 100 evidenced NDEs. One of them is a gal perceives herself up above her body looking down, but on top of one of the medical machines in the room is a number, like the kind of numbers that are riveted on the machine so they can keep track of the machines in the hospital. And there was a 12-digit number. When she came to, she said, I'm OCD, and I memorize large numbers when I see them. And here's the number. And she told the nurse, she said, get out a pen and paper real fast. Now, she had just been revived. And she said, here's the 12-digit number. And she read the number off. Well, sometime later, they were moving this machine out of the room, and they had a guy get up on a ladder to check the number out, and the 12-digit number was exactly correct. A couple times, coins have been thrown up in the rafters. One of them was a 1982 quarter. Now, you might say, well, yeah, but you know, a quarter is going to be somewhere between 1980 and 2020. But that's still 40 years for either a 19 or a 20. and then 40 years from those last two numbers, which could be anything. And so even a few numbers like that are fairly evidential. Another one in that book, a person was having surgery, and they said they were up above their body, and they drifted, their spirit or whatever, drifted through a wall where another surgery was going on in the other room. And in that room, they were amputating a man's leg. Well, not only did they report the amputation, but a really interesting thing, they said they took the amputation, the leg, and they put it in a yellow bag. Now I picture like a yellow garbage bag, but they put the leg in the bag, and that can be verified or not. Whether, and if they know it's during the surgery, they'd have to know that the other person's surgery was going on at the same time, and if the leg was, and oh no, he had open heart surgery. Well, that would falsify the NDE report. But if the guy in the next room had his leg removed, and if you say, hey, what'd you do with the leg? Oh, we put it in a bag. What kind of bag? Plastic bag. What color plastic bag? Yellow. Now you're starting to get the corresponding data, and especially when these are observed with no measurable brain or heart knowledge, that is a pretty good report, I think, of there being some consciousness after the apparent death of the body.